Hi, and happy Friday the 13th. I'm Wishop, and welcome to your weekend reading for Saturday, February 14th, and Sunday, February 15th. So we'll start with the I Ching. I rolled the dice and got Heaven over Thunder, which is interesting because both of those would be sword energies, very young sword energies over each other. And in a sense, all of that activity leads the I Ching number to be 25, which is innocence. And what's meant by innocence in that case is an open-hearted spontaneity, because things are happening. You know, exciting things can be happening, but you cannot have prepared for them. And so the only way to handle it is to maintain a childlike sense of your own wonder and maintain your own natural virtue and just deal with what comes. In fact, welcome what comes, because the things coming could be magical and wonderful. But with all this sword energy, you may have a tendency to try to overthink things, to try to scheme, to try to calculate. That's not going to work. The I Ching is saying, don't do that, because this one's too complicated and you're not going to be able to figure it out. So I'm going to read a little from the Tao Te Ching. This is the Jia Fu Feng and Jane English translation. So from number 25, it says, "Something mysteriously formed, born before heaven and earth, in the silence and the void, standing alone and unchanging, ever present and in motion. Perhaps it is the mother of 10,000 things. I do not know its name. Call it Tao. For lack of a better word, I call it great." So the idea behind that is that it is mysterious. It's great, it's grand, it's magnificent, but you're not going to be able to mastermind this one. And for some of us very airy mental types, needing to constantly counsel ourselves, don't think too far in the future. Don't try to turn this into a strategy. Just take it as it comes, remain open-hearted, and just see what happens. It can be difficult advice to follow, but I think that's what's being said this week. And I think the numbers reinforce that. So here are the dice that I threw. So in the upper position, the external circumstances, we have a 6, a 6, and a 4. And actually, I should have pulled the Lover's card since we've got double sixes here. In the external position, we've got lots of emphasis on the Lover's card. Well, that's not really a surprise because it's Valentine's Day this weekend. So culturally, whether or not you're having what, the culture or the movies or the greeting card store says is the perfect Valentine's Day, there is going to be a lot of talk around that. There's going to be a lot of activity around that in your external world. The 4 would sort of tell me, try to stay solid with it. Because I think we talked in the weekly reading, or I talked in the weekly reading, that the greatest love you have is the love you have for yourself. And that's where the love you have for everything else comes from. And you want to be abundant and overflowing with love, enough to share because you loved yourself first. So we've got this external energy, which will add up to 16. So I'll show you. On the internal side, we also have this 4 again here. So more solidity, stability being called for on the inner level. But on the external level, this is the internal, the sort of yin side of things. This is the yang external side of things. So in the internal, we have internal stability being called for, just like in our external actions. And then we have, it adds up to 8. So let's go look at the Major Arcana cards that this calls for. Okay, so let me try and straighten this up. Okay, so try not to be freaked out by the Tower. And I'll see if I can get this to hold still. 16, which is what is in the external sort of yang position, the heaven position, is the Tower. Well, that's exactly what's indicated, because we're talking about unexpected activities. a lot of people, when they see the Tower, think it has to be something bad, but it's not. It's really the power of Uranus, and it's just unexpected. It's very chaotic. It's the higher octave of Mercury. So that kind of fast moving, anything can happen activity. So the anything that can happen can be tremendously exciting. But the people in this picture, they've made plans, right? Here's a crown. I am better off if things don't change. I'm better off to maintain the position I have. Well, you know, this Uranus, chaos, excitement, serendipity energy doesn't care about the position you have. It's going to bring in what it brings in. And that's why we all have to stay flexible, but look for great surprises. Don't look for horrors. Keep your mind tuned on the fact that the universe can provide better than what you asked for, not so much worse than what you ever dreamed. So in the lower position, or the inner position, we have strength again. So once again, calling for this gentleness, this gentle-heartedness, this kindness, this compassion, the kind of strength which is shown in a peaceful nature, not shown in a roar. So that also tallies very well with the I Ching for the week. And then because 2 and 5, which are innocence, add up to 7, I pull the Chariot together. And once again, it's a card of great balance, right? This card is not called the charioteer, someone pointed out to me. It's called the Chariot. So the emphasis is not on the driving, on cracking the whip and guiding the chariot and you being the human nav system. The goal here is to take the ride, to be steady, to be strong, to be in control and in command of yourself. 7 is a very spiritual number. Get your head together and then take the ride, because it's an awesome e-ticket ride if you let it be. So that's kind of what's going on in the I Ching this week. So I pulled 2 random cards for each day, one for perception, one for action. So let's go down to those and I'll see if I can get this to be a little more still. This may be the last time that I sort of have to use this maybe not so optimal setup. So I kind of hope that's the case, but we'll just see how it goes. All right, so let me close up on these so you can see these cards. They are beautiful looking cards. Oops, just keep turning. Eventually I'll get there. Maybe. Well, just move the whole tripod. Okay, there we go. Okay, so perception for Saturday, the 14th. This is Valentine's Day. This beautiful card from the Tarot of Reflections. The artist is Francesco Ciampi. This is Temperance. Okay, more balance, right? This is a random draw, and this is the balance card. Temperance, even though it is connected to Sagittarius and the moon is in Sagittarius, I always think of it as also a very Aquarian card because it reminds me of the star, the way the water's going back and forth. Anyway, I think it's a card of sort of high-mindedness, maintaining your virtue, maintaining your balance, and so I think is very much in keeping with the I Ching. So this would be your internal sort of perceptions of maybe what you need to do or the way you'd like to be. And then the card for the external actions is from the Wildwood Tarot. And this is, let me see if we can keep the glare off there, the 8 of Vessels or Rebirth. Let me show it to you, right side up. So the 8 of Vessels or Rebirth indicates it's usually the 8 of Cups, and you think of sort of walking away from a bad situation or deciding to leave a situation behind, making that break. So the 8 of Vessels Rebirth says, you know what? It's a balanced day. Don't feel like you need to do anything dramatic, which is very interesting because Sunday looks rather different. And this may have something to do with the fact Mars and Venus are both in Pisces, and so people can be experiencing a challenge between the male and female energies. So they may feel a great unity in the male and female energies, or they may be experiencing those magnetic poles as sort of resisting each other. But either way, it's charged. Okay, so here's Sunday if we go over here. So again, we've got the reflections deck for our perception. So unlike Temperance, which is this, card of balance, let me see if I've got this in frame. There we go. This is the Hierophant in this deck. And this is very much a card, it's earlier in the Major Arcana. It's a card of initiation, of gatekeeping, of going to a mentor or dealing with a traditional institution. So it could be about pursuing education. It could be about talking to someone about an issue that's been causing you problems, or consulting someone who you would consider to be in a superior position to you regarding this issue. So the interesting thing is that the action card is the Two of Bows, or you might think of it as the Two of Wands from the Wildwood Tarot, which is decision. So this is exactly the opposite of the Saturday reading, which was balance, don't be hasty, you don't need to do anything. It's this water card, 8 of vessels overflowing. Then we get to Sunday, we've got this fire card, and it's like, let's do something, let's make decisions. So I think if we reflect on the entire weekend, it could be a weekend of contrasts. And it may be contrasts that you're experiencing in yourself. I think we live in a very young kind of society right now, very fast, very action-oriented. So when in doubt, I tend to kind of look in and think about reflection, contemplation, because I think those things are so underdone and underappreciated. But you may feel that you're in a time that you want to take action, and if so, get on down with it. But I pulled an extra card, which I haven't seen yet, which is from the Doug Thornjo's Circus Magi deck. And this is for the whole weekend, just basically overall energies. I always like to have a random card to sort of, confound myself and see what it is. So I'm a flipper, so here we go. Oh, look at that. Okay, so 2 of buckets, which would be the 2 of cups. And you can see, actually I should turn this around so you can see what it's really like. See, it's got this adorable elephant and this adorable little girl, and they're just sitting next to each other and they're in harmony. And this is this way. Okay, so I don't want to say that this absolutely, let me straighten out the camera here, predicts that you're going to have a conflict-filled weekend. But it does say, I think, that on the inside you may experience some clashes. And part of that may be just that you look at, what your life is and do that sort of toxic comparing of yourself to what the world says you should have, what the world says your relationship should be, what everyone else seems to have, what you fear everyone else has, and that creates conflict within yourself. But it doesn't have to. The more you relish who you are, if you look at this couple, this elephant and this little girl, that's pretty unconventional. Okay, so really enjoy what's unconventional about you, and don't think so much about what the outer world thinks or what the outer world presents as a view of what you need to be or how you need to be, and nourish that temperance within yourself. And because we have the Hierophant, if you're feeling like just opted out by this weekend's activities, go learn something. Go take a class somewhere. Go maybe, do your yoga, or, go to your gym, or whatever you do to just make you feel a part of something, and realize that the love that you have for yourself is extremely important. And I wish you an absolutely wonderful Valentine's Day weekend, and I will see you for next week. Bye.